Finding an anonymous photograph can be very evocative, and for Guillorn, who's both a visual artist and a songwriter, this is doubly true.
The gaze of his eyes is so direct. There's just a haunting beauty to his face that I found really compelling.
Now, finding a whole album of them in a thrift store in Europe, that takes it to a completely different level.
So it's all the optimism and world travel and scenes of beauty that we photograph, with a few overturned tanks thrown in.
We'll talk about the rewards and frustrations of writing a song about just such a photo album, and other things too in today's episode of Tell Me About Your Song.
But the memories have faded.
Hello, and welcome to Tell Me About Your Song, the podcast where I talk to musicians and songwriters about a song they've written. Today's guest is Guillorn, and the song she'll be talking about is named Turn the Page. So where would you like to start with this song, Liz?
I'm a photographic printmaker by day, and my colleague and boss was in Paris and found a photo album, a really interesting old photo album in a junk shop or antique store. And she was inspired to create an exhibition of artists who responded to images in the album in different ways. And I'm a visual artist and also a musician, so I decided to respond with a song instead of a photo or a visual art piece. So I had the song playing in what looked like an old record player. When you open up the album, you're hit with this very striking picture of a young man, and his eyes are looking right at you. And I thought, okay, this is going to be the thing I write the song about. That photo that's on my Bandcamp page is one of four. So it was four up on a page, and he was looking in different directions. And along with the art piece, I made a lenticular download card, so he's sort of looking at the camera and then he's looking down. When you tilt it, those things that you used to get in cereal boxes with baseball players on them and stuff. The gaze of his eyes is so direct. There's just a haunting beauty to his face that I found really compelling. And then over the course of the album, seeing him age through the photos along with these other characters, there's an inherent tragedy in looking at someone else's photo album because I don't know the story, and I could flip the page and suddenly everyone's old, and then you go, oh my God, time has passed and these people are all gone. Whereas when we make our own photo albums, they might take time and we're experiencing things and there isn't this instant time travel.
When you see my face, you will not know my name. When you see my face.
It's sort of breaking the fourth wall. He's speaking to the unknown viewer of the unknown album across time and space. But, I say in another song, you're not the ghost, I'm the ghost. So in some way, a lot of my work has to do with memento mori, that remember we're all going to be there too. And it's not meant to be sad. It's just another way to turn the page on a story. And I was contemplating what this family's life must have been like. It was probably from between the First and Second World Wars. They were probably French or Spanish. And my imagination just started running what their life would be like.
In your hands I have emigrated. Pictures clear, but the memories have faded. How I live, not how I died. When I laughed, not how I cried.
The album emigrated with Kathy Veneria, my friend and boss, and just the idea that all of these interesting people lived, and we've got evidence of parts of their life, but we have no idea what their lives were actually like. He's already dead, and he's saying, when you see my face, you'll not know my name. because we know nothing about these people. I'm just making up a story and projecting my own ideas onto them of what their life might have been like. And I used Bandcamp to make the song.
GarageBand?
Yeah, instead of using Logic or Pro Tools, I used what was already on my Mac and played all the instruments myself and built the whole thing up from scratch using a click track as my background, so there are no drums on it. It's just me and Rhodes organ, acoustic, 12-string, electric, and vocals. It wasn't intended to be performed. It was intended to go along with this art piece. And I have it up because some people I thought might find it interesting. And I just let my imagination go wherever it wanted to, my musical imagination, to go along with the different sections. And if I felt like changing the tone, I had the freedom to, because there was nothing holding me back. It didn't have to fit in anywhere with my other songs, really, because it's kind of left field. And I do some stuff I wouldn't normally do in a recording I would put out.
Like what?
I think just the stylistic shift.
With Marguerite at the gate, the dog and the lemonade. The empty squares, the monuments, the marches and the parade.
It's told by the person whose photograph opened the album, right? And then he's sort of talking about other photographs that are in the album.
Yeah. I made up another character named Marguerite. We don't know what the protagonist's name is. I never gave him a name, but there's a great little terrier dog in one of the photos. So Marguerite and the dog and the lemonade. And there are lots of photos of World War I sites. There are overturned tanks. There are monuments. There are world travels. And I just imagined that they must have lost somebody in World War I. It was statistically unlikely that they wouldn't have. So I inserted a dead uncle into the song. So that's my personal touch, imagining they laid a wreath on my grandfather's brother's grave. So I inserted him into their story. There are just some haunting lines that I say. The line about Frankie's grave is just sort of floating in space.
He was in the song when I no longer lived at home. He was so damn young.
So when I was creating the lyrics and the melody, the arrangement was already suggested to me. So in a way, I did create the sections and the different feel to go with the lyrics. But it wasn't something I mapped out intellectually. It was organic. And I did it by feel and not by planning. There was a little bit of tinkering and moving stuff around, but not much. But I remember having the lyrics written out on 3 notebook pieces of paper that I taped together, and it was more like a score than I would normally have when I finally decided to record it and get it all together. But it was useful to me in a way because I find myself now, this was 2 years ago that I wrote this, but now I'm writing a song that does also have some different parts in it. And I think I might use a similar approach, and I plan on playing it out.
So you have like this album full of photos that kind of give you, in a way, the breadth of this person's life. But then you also talk in the song about things that are left out.
Yeah, because you don't really take pictures of sad things or, I mean, in a way, the tour of the World War I battlefields was sad, and they definitely wanted to remember that. But there are just everyday tragedies and normal things that are left out of a photo album. These folks traveled quite a bit, but they didn't. There were no kids in this album.
With sisters sentimental, brothers fond, but none of us had children that we could hang our lives on.
One of the things that struck me about it was there are no children anywhere in the album, which I thought might be part of the reason the album would end up in a junk shop. That's part of the mystery, is like, how did this dude and his family get abandoned in a junk shop? And then there's this point I reached where I was like, I'm writing a story about another dead white guy. So I don't know. He could have been an oppressor. I don't know what his story was. So I work that in a little bit, that he might have hurt one of my ancestors or any one of us in some way. And even over the course of your normal life, you just hurt people, because he certainly is gone long enough that he couldn't have affected me directly. But in the scheme of European politics, a lot of bad stuff happened. So, and that's part of what we don't photograph, really.
Look at me, what do you see? I could be one of your great-great-grandparents. Or maybe you don't like my face. I might have hurt someone who hurt someone you love.
Talk about how the song ends.
He's almost consoling the listener, saying that it's part of life to get rid of things and be gone. So he's speaking almost as a ghost at the end. But also, you know, if you don't like the story, if you don't like your idea of what his story is, you can turn the page on the album or turn the page on your idea of what his life is and come up with another story.
If you don't like what you see, change the details of my history.
How does it feel to be lost? In a way, that's me talking to him.
How does it feel to be lost? I'm not lost. The losing's for you if you think about it. How does it feel to be lost?
I was just sort of thinking about photo albums. Like nowadays, you know, in the 2010s, people just take pictures all the time.
I think about it a lot because I work with photographs all the time. Is what happened to us in creating this project going to be something that will be extinct in the future if people don't make physical photo albums? We'll lose tons of history if it's just digital and goes away. There will be a giant chunk of history unviewable to strangers. Either that, or we're going to have these gigantic digital memorials to people where you'll be able to look at great-grandma's hard drive or something. It's funny to say something like that, but it's going to be a real concern what happens to your digital life. You can't just flip through a pile of photos in an antique store to find my digital Facebook photos. I don't know how that's all going to work. So print your photos, people, because you want to leave something. Something for the songwriters of the future to work off of.
Yeah, right.
That's my PSA for the future songwriters of America. Leave something behind for us.
So I originally wrote to you like a while ago. I don't know, over a year ago, I think.
Yes.
And we went back and forth a little, and then both of us kind of dropped the ball for a while.
Right. I didn't think I could talk for 20 minutes or longer about one song. And the prospect of doing that with one of the more personal songs, I was like, I don't want to give away all my secrets.
Yeah.
So I'd rather have those songs speak for themselves, and I feel happier talking about something less like me. So it's one of my more narrative songs. I don't usually write songs that are narrative, and it's not even strictly, it's not a story song, certainly, but it tells a little bit about the way the album got here and what my imagination did with it. And it's probably my least personal song, which is why I feel very comfortable talking about it.
Great. So if people want to hear more of your music, what should they do?
They can go to lysguillorn.com, which is lysguillorn.com, or much easier, littlecowgirl.com just redirects right there. And I've got pretty much everything I've recorded up on Bandcamp, so it's lisguillorn.bandcamp.com. The page I had up for my art isn't up right now, and I am in between art websites, so it's a little harder to see, but I do have some stuff up on Facebook under Little Cowgirl Records and Handmade.
All right, so people can check it out there, and I'll put links to all of these things in the show notes and whatnot.
Cool.
If people are interested in my own music, it's at music.jwgh.org. And I think I'm going to put together a website at jacobhaller.com with all my various projects. And I've put together a website for this podcast at tellmeaboutyoursong.com. And as I mentioned, I always put together a little blog post with links to everything we've been talking about, and people can find that at yoursongpodcast.tumblr.com, TUMBLR. So with all that said, we're going to go out by listening to the song we've been talking about, Liz Guillorn's song, Turn the Page. Thanks for listening.
Thank you.
When you see my face, you will not know my name. When you see my face, in your hands I have emigrated. Pictures clear, but the memories have faded. How I live, not how I died. When I laughed, not how I cried.
With Marguerite at the gate, the dog and the lemonade. The empty squares, the monuments, the marches and the parades.
We laid a wreath on Frankie's grave. He was in the song when I no longer lived at home. He was so damn young, with sisters sentimental, brothers fond, but none of us had children that we could hang our lives on. We gallivanted round the world, which we had the means to do. If you don't like what you see, change the details of my history. My history. Just turn the page. Turn the page. Turn the page. Turn the page.
Look at me, what do you see? I could be one of your great-great-grandparents. Or maybe you don't like my face. I might have hurt someone who hurt someone you love.
Oh, don't be sad. I had a good life, baby. Aren't you glad we took pictures of everything? I was loved and sometimes happy. does it feel to be lost? How does it feel to be lost? I'm not lost. The losing's for you if you think about it. How does it feel to be lost? How does it feel to be lost? I'm not lost. I'm not lost. Turn the page. 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 Turn the page.
Did you get any particular reaction that you noticed when you did it live? I know that doing it in a coffee house can be a little...
No. Yeah, no, not really.
Yeah, fair enough.
Just the espresso machine going.
Oh, yeah.
Just like